Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to throw shade. We are here to watch Love After Lockup, a show in which people wrote in to a network saying, "This is my life, and yes, I will take money to show it on your TV program." Amen. We are here to comment on that life. If anyone here in the congregation is feeling some type of way, feeling like we might be talking about you, judging you and your life, just know we're not. If you find my commentary to be too crass, too mean, or judgmental, then I say go in peace. We are here to have fun, spill a little tea, all with a smile and great lipstick. Amen. Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Hey guys, we are back with another series to recap and review. This is Love After Lockup on WeTV Friday nights. Girl, this show. Thank you so much to Kathy and all of you who suggested that I review this show. It is great. I am into it. I love it. What's on my lips right now is Exorcism by Kat Von D. It's an everlasting liquid lipstick. All right, so first we are going to start with Lizzie and Scott. Lizzie is crazy. I'm just like, she's crazy. She is a lunatic. That's it. I mean, just all you need to know about her. I don't believe anything that comes out of her mouth, and she's crazy. Lizzie is a 39-year-old inmate who's been in prison for 8 years, and Scott is a 49-year-old single dad who has done it all on his own for the last 10 years. They met 2 years ago on an online dating website because Scott says that he was very lonely and he had had his heart broken, and he felt that it was safer to date somebody who was in prison, someone who he could just talk to over the phone or write letters to. And then he met Lizzie. About a month into meeting Lizzie, she explained to him that honestly she was online trying to con men out of their money, and that she decided that she didn't want to con him anymore and that she wanted to actually establish a relationship with him. So they started dating, and it's 2 years later and she's almost about to get out. Scott is outside in the backyard with his son Adam, and they are fixing a bike when Lizzie calls from the San Bernardino Women's Correctional Facility. They get on speakerphone and she starts yapping and gabbing, saying how much she loves him and how come he hasn't seen her, and he better not be talking to no other B, and he better not ever cheat on her. And it's just kind of like she is going a mile a minute, girl. I'm just like, well, like, can anybody speak? Then he says, you know, well, Adam's here with me right now, and Adam's like, yeah, well, hey. And she's like, oh, how are you? And he's like, good. Like, all one word answers, girl. Adam is not into this, but he is trying for his dad, especially because over the last 2 years, Lizzie has been in prison, so it probably hasn't even been a real reality for him. But now that it's about 3 weeks away from Lizzie coming out of prison, he's probably feeling a little bit of feelings right now about it. Scott talks about how it isn't going to be easy once she gets out, because the way Lizzie is talking, I guess Adam has a car and he was probably thinking about painting it some color, and she's like, are you going to paint it pink? And he's like, no. And she's like, well, look, if the car isn't painted by the time I get out, it's going to be painted pink. And he's like, no, it's not. She's just like, ha 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 ha. And so Scott is trying to say, like, hey, Lizzie, you know that when you come out, things aren't just going to fall into place like this. You know, it's going to take time. People are going to be thinking that you're trying to use me or your intentions aren't honorable. And she's like, no, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I'm going to come out and it's going to be great. And I love you so much. I'm not conning you, which is my specialty, you know, my specialty of conning men. That's what she says, girl. She's like, you think I'm going to do my specialty on you? You think I'm going to like take money from you and run? Ha ha ha. I'm just like, yo, she crazy, son. Like, this is too much. I don't know what she did to get into prison, but we do know what she was doing while in prison. Taking sexy photos and putting them up online and getting men to send her money. Even her, like, commentary, like, it looks like somebody's taken a video of her with a cell phone, and she's like, when I met Scott, I was like, she's just like posing, even though she's like in prison garb. She is like legs crossed, posing and doing her very best, which part of me admires, because I'm like, girl, it doesn't matter what your circumstances is, you gotta look fly. But at the same time, it's like she's not based in a reality in which her choices cause any effect. This woman has been in jail for the last 8 years. She went into jail when she was 31 years old. That means that she was a grown woman when she made the mistake or whatever it is that she did when she committed her crime. She was a grown woman. So I kind of don't have any sympathy for her at all. I'm just kind of like, she's crazy. Mayday, mayday, Scott, run. Adam tells Scott, just be careful. And he's like, I am going to be careful. And I'm just like, girl, Scott, be careful. She will take all your money. She looks crazy AF. All right, so that's it for Scott and Lizzie, and now we're gonna move on to Jonna and Garrett. Okay, let me just first off start by saying, girl, Garrett is fine. Garrett is 24 years old and Jonna is 26 years old. They have been dating for a little over 4 years. That means that they started talking when Garrett was 20 and Jonna was 22. Jonna's in the car driving home, I guess, to meet up with her dad because he's coming to put in a filter in her air conditioning and fix her refrigerator or something like that. So she's on the phone with Garrett and she says, hey, I'm on my way to meet my dad to talk about you and talk about the circumstances, because Garrett is just about to get out of jail, like 24 hours and he's out of jail, girl, after 6 years of being in prison. He was in there to do an 8-year bid, but they let him out in 6, and I think he's gonna have 5 years of probation. So I'm gonna go back a little bit and we'll talk about her dad. She met Garrett like 4 years ago when she had had a little bit too much to drink and went online, saw his mugshot, and decided to write him a letter and was like, let's see what happens. So if you think about it, out of the 6 years that he's been in prison, he has had this girlfriend. He's had someone to look forward to on the outside for 4 years. She's probably got him through a lot, probably kept him steady, been his rock, all that stuff, which is great, right? That's something that's ideal for any person in prison. The only caveat is that if you do the math, that means that he's been in jail since he was 18. And even in his confessional, Garrett talks about the fact that he's been in and out of jail in his childhood, which means that probably mentally he isn't much older than 16, 18 years old. And that's the truth. And our prison system here in America is not set up for prisoners or for inmates to come out and be successful. So his mentality is that of an 18-year-old boy. That's when he went in. He committed a crime of burglary, home invasion, I think theft. So like he was a bold boy, you know what I'm saying? He was doing a lot of stuff in his teenage years that Jonna just simply was not doing. So that culture shock of her coming from a situation where she has her father in her life, who is like one of, number one in her life, to having this man who didn't have that kind of upbringing at all, and her trying to bring him into her lifestyle where he doesn't have any idea how to cope or how to be in that environment and survive. On the way, the conversation that she has with Garrett is, I don't know how my dad's gonna behave. Apparently her dad has some kind of wild outbursts, and so Garrett already thinks he's kind of crazy. And he says to her, if your dad starts to act out, just close the door behind him and don't look back. To me, strike number one. Then he asks her who's more important or who's number one, her dad or him. To me, strike number two. And then in his confessional, he says that he doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. To me, strike number three. Yeah, I understand the sentiment of not caring about what people think about you, but at a certain time and place in your life, you should kind of care of what people think about you, because that helps you to better navigate the world and get things in life. Like, he's fine as all hell, and I'm sure that he does love her because she held it down, but I don't have any confidence in him, this marriage, his faithfulness to her, nothing like that. I feel like he is a teenager still, and it's going to be really hard to help him grow up. Sorry guys if the pictures have been messed up because I was sitting in the middle. We found out that a year ago, Jonna bought a house so that when he got out of prison that he would have a place to live, because she knew that he would have a hard time getting a lease at any place because of his record. So she went on ahead and invested in a house, sunk everything in a house, which I necessarily don't think is a bad thing, as long as the house is not in his name and it's just in her name. Like, I think having a house is a pretty decent investment as long as she can keep up with the payments and everything is good. So in her mind, he's gonna come out and it's gonna be this fairy tale. He's gonna get a job sooner than later, he's gonna propose, they're gonna get married, and then they're going to start having kids. His main thing is that he wants to get home so that he can finally have sex, because he hasn't had sex in a long time. So her and her friend go out and they go lingerie shopping for her because she's excited and she wants to make sure she's looking right. And I have to say that Jonna has such a cute body. She's trying on lingerie and I'm like, okay girl, I'm here for it. Buy lingerie for your man. When Jonna is talking to her father, before she goes to the lingerie, let's go back a little bit. When Jonna is talking to her father about the whole scenario, he's like, look, I have seen you go through heartbreak. I have seen you break up with guys, and you're going to be on the phone calling me, Daddy, as soon as something goes wrong with this guy. I don't have any faith in the situation. And she's like, well, you have to have faith in me, and I've done my research, and they say, he's like, who's they? Who is these they that say this? And she's like, well, they, the internet. I did research, and I found out that guys who are married after they get out of prison are 50% less likely to go back into prison. And part of me feels like that number is a little high. That depends on what your crime was and the environment you were in to commit that crime and how long you were into prison. Like, I don't think 50% is valid. Like, 50% of guys who get married out of prison don't go back. I feel like that's wrong. But you know what I'm saying? If that's what makes her feel better, that's what makes her feel better. Her dad is saying, you know, you've been through a lot with guys. And if you think about it, she's 26 years old. She's been dating him for 4 years. That means that the guys that cheated on her back in the day was when she was like 18, 19, 20 years old. And personally, any guy that you dated or dealt with when you were 19, 20, 21 years old is just like, who cares? Who cares about that guy? Like, unless you're married to him, and I know some of you guys are probably married to that guy. I don't put any stock in like that time of my life. Like, who are those people? Like, I'm a completely different person than I was at that early age in life. And like, to even like have any validity of those relationships or those situations, like, that's crazy. But anyways, so that's what she says, and the dad's like, yeah, I was there for that, and you were boohooing, and I'm not gonna be here, and I don't want to deal with it this time. You are making bad decisions, and that's why they cheated on you, because you don't pick the right kind of guys. And I have to agree with the dad. So then we get to the time where he's about to get out. She has to look for some paperwork, and girl, she can't find this paperwork. She says she left it on the counter and been on the counter for weeks, and all of a sudden she's looking for this paperwork. She can't find it, girl. She's crying. She's looking at a trash can. She's running around her house, like, upset. Producers even stop and try to help her because she's so distraught. And then she finds it in her closet underneath some shoes on the top shelf. And I guess it's this paperwork that shows that he did go through some sort of drug rehabilitation at some point. I don't know how she has those papers, but maybe he mailed it to her for safekeeping. And she needs to present them at the prison, and she's worried that she's like, he's gonna be so mad at me. I don't know where this stuff is, and it's gonna ruin our lives. And I'm just like, girl, is it gonna ruin your life, or is it just gonna set things back a bit? She is so upset. She is so dramatic. A girl after my heart. Just so dramatic. So anyways, she finds it and she gets in her car, and she's wearing a little cute like t-shirt dress. Girl, she looks snatched. I was like, okay, Jonna, cute little body. She got her white sneakers on, and so she brings some clothes, right? Because the clothes he went into prison with were from 6 years ago. So she brings some clothes. She brings him a red shirt and white pants, and I'm like, oh, she wanted them to match. That's so cute. That's so cute. So anyways, he gets out, girl, he's fine. He's fine. And he's just like, I'm just ready to get her home. And the way he speaks too, I was like, ooh. Anyway, so she's like, I'm just trying to get her home. Like, we trying to go home right now. Want to have any of this conversation with the cameras, like, when we go home. So they get in the car and they go home. But that's what's going on with them so far. So next we have Lamar and Andrea. Lamar is 40 years old and Andrea is 37 years old. Andrea is a Black Mormon. Now, let me just stop right there and say that I don't understand anybody who is a Black Mormon. If you are a Black Mormon, then like, I don't understand why you would be in a church that at some point was like racist and pro-slavery. Let me read a little bit about Black people in Mormonism. The Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints has a policy which prevented most Black African descended people from being ordained to the church's lay priesthood. Now, why is that important? Young Black men in the LDS Church holding the priesthood is required to hold leadership roles, perform baptisms, and bless the sacrament, to bless babies and to bless the sick. Since Black men could not hold the priesthood, they were excluded from holding leadership roles and performing these rituals. Joseph Smith and Brigham Young reasoned that black skin was a result of the curse of Cain. Black skin was a result of the curse of Cain. They used these biblical curses to justify slavery. Young believed that the curse made Black people ineligible to vote, marry white, or hold the priesthood. Young was instrumental in officially legalizing slavery in the Utah Territory. That's just a little bit of history. Mormon men have more of a role as far as being the priesthood holders within their families. And so it's important for men who are in the church to be able to hold those leadership roles, because they're expected to. All the young men go on missionary work usually. And it's kind of like expected to, especially if you're like Orthodox or like really, really strict Mormon. So like, I don't know why this child is Mormon. Anyway, so Andrea is 37 years old. She has 3 kids and she's been divorced for the last 12 years. Fun fact, Andrea has also been on another reality show, Stage Moms, where she took her daughter Nala, her oldest daughter, to LA, and they did some sort of reality show where she was a stage mom. So this is not her first time in the reality TV rodeo. She has 2 full-time jobs to be able to support her kids' ambitions and their extracurricular activities. 2 full-time jobs. I don't know, are one of those full-time jobs online? Like, I don't know how anyone has any time in the day to have 2 full-time jobs, but God bless her. You know what I'm saying? She wants her kids to have the best, and she's gonna work hard so that they do have the best. She has been talking to Lamar, who has been in prison for the last 18 years. You heard me, girl. 18 years.